Yay! I was excited to try to do it from my computer, but for some reason that wasn't working.
Oh, is that what it was? So you're on your computer?
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
From the phone at work.
I tried doing that too when I was first trying to do this. I was trying it on my computer, so it's just, you know, an easy forum to work with. Don't have to handhold anything, you know. And that wasn't working for some reason. They need to develop Instagram where it's accessible online on your computer. That would just be easier. No, that's okay. So, welcome. It's good to see you. It's we met in person a while. What was it, like 2 years ago?
I had no idea that I had met you before. Marianne just texted me that yesterday.
Oh, that's funny.
I know. So that's super exciting. I love that you're doing this. Great.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, so we have a weekly podcast on LA Talk Radio, so I'd love to have you on there once we get back up and going. I'm doing this to bring some normalcy in and to continue to promote amazing female filmmakers in general, people in this industry, because it's a platform that is needed, especially with independent filmmakers, because publicity is not easy and it's super expensive. So before we get started, or as we're getting started, I want you to introduce yourself, tell everyone a little bit about yourself. And this does go on our YouTube, so I'll give you a link when that's all up and going.
Okay, great. Will you ask me?
Yeah. So just tell us a little bit. Yeah, no problem.
Oh, right now?
Yeah. It's an introduction and a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Okay, great. My name's Kymberly Harris, and I'm a director and a filmmaker.
This court is now in session. It's time for you to listen up now. On trial today, we have the Honorable Mr. and Mrs. Zimmerman, helpers of the poor, longing to breathe free.
Self-aware in a psych ward.
Self-awareness has nothing to do with just hanging in there with someone. And hanging in there with someone is what life's all about.
Well, sometimes they don't hang in there with you.
I think sometimes they do.
He's burning, but like a man walking through fire, that anger will come out hot and fast and screaming. No, we don't know when, but we know it will come out.
Your first sexual experience was rape? Holy shit.
Your story's really tugging at my heartstrings here.
It's good.
Is it?
Black wires grow upon her head. I've seen roses demarked both red and white, but found no such roses upon her cheek, and in some perfume is more delight.
Look, you don't want to feel that way about me.
Why?
Because I'm a heartbreaker.
No, you're just heartbroken.
Now look what you made me do.
I direct theater too, but I'm really hyper-focused on film right now. And I directed 2 short films, and I just am in the process this week of finishing my first feature and moving into development on another feature. So I've found my true love in filmmaking.
That's amazing. The feature that you just worked on, that's something that you wrote and directed, or just directed?
It was based on the story of someone else, and we developed his story. So we shared a screenwriting credit. that it was really me trying to bring his vision to life. It's called I Heard Sarah.
Okay, that's amazing. Kudos to you. Congratulations on that. When do you expect it to be released? Are you going to do the festival route, distribution route, sales reps? What's your plan with it?
Yes, all of the above.
Perfect.
It's definitely an intimate film. It's
Okay.
it's a definitely an art film. It's definitely an indie film, but we're gonna bring all of those people on and see where it lands.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I'm still sort of in it right now, so I'm not really quite at that next stage yet. I'm still really creatively attached to it. We're just finishing the editing now.
Okay.
I mean the post now.
Okay.
So, but yeah, next time I talk to you, I'll have more of those kinds of answers for you.
No, that's amazing. I'll
Yeah.
send you a link afterwards on this woman that started a website. She created this website, I think, last year. And she's been in the industry for over 20 something years, I think. And she's a producer. She's from the production, from that form, from that area. So what she did was develop this website where she kind of links up independent filmmakers with other either distributors, sales reps, even festivals. It's free right now. And she's doing it where giving you access that normally it's not accessible. Like normally you have to pay a lot of money, like to go to American Film Market, AFM, American Film Market.
Oh yeah.
So it's kind of like that, but online version of it. So I'll send you the link so you can link up to that and place your project there and see what you get that way. Because I've gotten some interest on some of my projects that way. And it's been amazing, all free. And I've gotten some amazing connections and already some really good leads and offers. So I'll send that your way after this.
Thank you, Alexa. I love that. I love
problem.
that a woman started that, and giving that service to filmmakers is incredible.
Yeah, it's so great. And she pretty much vets every single person that's on it. So you're not going to get distribution scammers. Like, how there's other websites or other platforms that kind of exist and they attempt to do the same thing, but then you get all this generic emails or contacts and it's not even legit. It's kind of like someone saying, we'll do this, offer you all this, but you have to pay this, which isn't really the same thing.
Right.
So she makes sure that they're all credible companies and individuals that are seeking projects and seeking to provide that opportunity. So that's what's amazing about it.
It's curated.
Yes,
exactly.
Love that. Exactly. So that's great. I'm really happy for you. I think I remember when we met you talking about the feature film, or you're working on it, right?
Yes, I think we were in talks.
Okay.
We were starting, and it's taken 2 years to finish. And it's funny, with both of my shorts, it felt like it was a pretty short, it was like a year. And it did take longer for the feature. I mean, it's 72 minutes. For some reason, I'm resisting labels with it. I mean, I guess it's technically a feature, but I feel like it's its own thing, its own experience.
Yeah.
And plus I'm moving into a proper feature. But yeah, technically it's a feature, and it definitely has taken a lot longer.
Yeah. I don't think a lot of people understand, as filmmakers is what I mean by, I don't think a lot of filmmakers understand the process of that. There is a difference, obviously, as you noted, between a feature and a short film. And then at the same time, what I tell a lot of filmmakers is don't forget that what you end up having there is a product, especially when it comes to a feature. It's a product that you can potentially make an income from, a profit from, if done correctly. And there's different routes and avenues on doing that. So I really encourage anyone that tries to get into, graduate from short films to features, to truly take it serious from every step of the way. Take it serious, because it is a product that you end up having right there. Yeah.
Well, hopefully, I mean, I hope it touches people, I mean, it's interesting. There's some ways, and I've heard Ava DuVernay say this too. I mean, there's some ways that when we do a short film, it's, if you can do a short film, you know, it's so challenging to get a whole story. I mean, I'm a writer too, so I write them, and it's so challenging to get your vision into that short period of time, and you know, time is limited, and money's limited, and there's a certain skill set I think that is developed, but you know, through those confines, and you do have more time and space, and hopefully budget on the feature. So I encourage I mean, I guess everyone makes a short film now before they make a feature, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, everything is a calling card. Your short film is a calling card to what you potentially could do in the feature realm of it, or even if you don't do feature film, what you do in television. You know, there's different there's different methods of doing it. So there is someone that's asking about the distribution or the platform. I will share that afterwards. So I'll send that to you. I've seen this person ask a couple times. I will send that to you, I promise. So tell me something, because I've heard a lot of great things about you before I met you. And then again, as a reminder, because yeah, Marianne contacted me too, and she was like thrilled to see that we were going to be talking here today. I know that you wear many hats because you're super talented. You share that talent around, so you don't keep it to yourself, and you don't just share it in your art, but you also assist actors as well, correct? Artists that are trying to hone in on their talent. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I have a great passion for the craft of acting. First of all, I acted since I was 6 years old, and then I got my MFA in acting. I always thought I was going to be pursuing acting, and I didn't stop acting on purpose. But when I started writing and directing, I felt like that was a better fit for me. I felt like everything that I had been doing with the coaching and the teaching and the writing and the playwriting was sort of culminated into this thing. And I'd really found sort of my where I was supposed to be in directing. But I am passionate about the craft of acting, and I love empowering actors. And I think most of that, the reason why I talk about myself there, is because most of that is because of my experience. I really understand the actor's craft. I really have worked professionally in all the mediums, and I did all that school. You know, I was one of the actors that did get my master's degree, that did get my MFA. I went that route. And so it really has led me to have a certain theoretical understanding and also a practical understanding of what the actor is doing. And actors are so generous. I mean, actors are their own instrument, you know, so they're using themselves, their offering of themselves. And right now, I feel that actors, it's an incredibly important time for us to be, you know, what you're doing, you know, to be an artist in general, because actors are connecting to their humanity, and there's so many ways that humanity is really disconnected right now. And so yeah, I teach at Strasberg, the Lee Strasberg Film and Theater Institute. My training is at the Actors Studio, and I love teaching there. I love my students there, and we are continuing online right now, which is great. And then I teach 3 professional actors that are, you would probably recognize their name. I coach them when they have projects, and that's for them to say, and sometimes they do, but I don't really offer people's names that are in the public eye. But I love coaching actors, especially on projects, you know, really getting them inhabiting their character and empowering them in that way.
That's amazing.
A lot of directors don't have time right now, you know, to really work with actors. That's my strength. That's my passion. That's what I'll always do. I see everything through the actor just because of where I come from and my experience. But, you know, a lot of actors' experience is that they prepare and then they're on their own on set. So I think, you know, a lot of great actors, people don't know, have coaches, you know, so they have someone to sort of protect their experience and their choices.
That's a good point, because not many directors have what you have, which is the acting skill, you know. And I know that a couple of actors, like name actors now, have turned into directors or do it every so often, you know. And I understand that, and I can imagine how they direct based on what you've shared is because they base it on their experience. Now, like myself, I've never acted. It's a talent I don't have. And so I commend those that do have it. But when I direct, I don't understand that perspective of it, you know,
Right.
and so I totally get what you're saying there, because when I direct or I'm sitting there talking to a talent and they're getting into that character and they're asking me questions, sometimes the questions they ask, there's times where I feel like, hey, that seems like a common sense question, but she asked it or he asked it in a way that didn't maybe come off that way. So it's a different perspective that blows my mind, you know. I don't know if I'm explaining that correctly. So it's interesting, and I think that's you have that extra incentive, like that extra you know, I don't know if I'm phrasing this correctly, but I think it's amazing that you have that, because you're able now to direct them and have that director's eye, but you have that ability and talent and understanding where they're coming from. And the fact that you coach them, holy heck, you're like one up there, you know, like you're right there, you know, so that's amazing. That's truly amazing.
Oh, thank
I
you.
wish
Well, it's a niche, you know, it's my particular niche. We all have our strengths, you know, and, you know, and then we all have the other things, you know, to keep learning. I mean, right now I'm really immersed in learning the technical, you know, the technical aspects, because my path is, you know, more craft based and visual, and, you know, in terms of, you know, the editing software, you know, I'm trying to do sort of a crash course in that, because that wasn't part of my path, but yeah, I'm happy with it. You know, I started this sort of free, you were talking about free services that we can give to people. And I started I started Stay Tuned LA for that reason. You know, it's a free service because not everyone can afford coaching, you know, and sometimes actors have questions, and like you were talking about, you know, they don't know if you're going to understand it. They don't know if they can even ask it. And so I said, okay, let's just start a blog where actors can ask anything they want, because for sure I won't think it's esoteric. I'll get it. You know? So let me put that out in the world, and it seems to have been helping some people, you know. So yeah,
that's amazing. That's what I was going to ask about, was that the Stay Tuned LA. I saw that because I see that you have your personal, like for example, your personal Instagram, and then you have one that's dedicated to that. And I was scrolling through it and I was like, this is great, because you're giving props to different people and for what they're doing. And then you're giving insight and suggestions as well. So I suggest, and I will add this here, people, please do follow that Instagram, especially if you're in that craft, if that's what you want to pursue in life, is acting. I think that's great that that's what you're doing. Do you have any plans to expand it further than that, or just keep it as is?
You know, I would love to expand it in any way. It's really, for me, just this service. I get a huge kick out of doing it. I mean, it just basically immerses me in that connection that I love so much. So I want all actors to ask me a question, and I want to field the questions, and I want, you know, I'm very happy to expand it any way anyone sees fit. But, you know, I just want people to, right now we're partnered with the Jewish Journal. Happy Pesach, happy Passover, all Jews today. We're doing this on Passover.
Okay. Much respect. Thank you.
But yeah, they put it out, and but right now that's the only people that have asked to do it. So I'm open. It's fairly new.
Okay.
Yeah, but thanks.
Well, maybe we could talk afterwards about that too, and how Female Filmmakers Fuse can collaborate with you and help expand it out there too, and take it out even further if possible. I'm
love
talking
that.
to my my grant writer, and I have to present her with different things that we're doing or planning to do in the next 5 years. So I think it's a perfect timing for you and I to discuss maybe adding that into it. We'll see. We'll talk afterwards further into that. But
how fun.
Yeah,
I'd love to.
We'll see. You know, if you're interested, I'm just trying to, like, Female Filmmakers Fuse is a nonprofit I started about 3 years ago, and I did it to help promote diversity, inclusion, equality, you know, empowering. There's so many different aspects to it. And we do an annual film festival, and we offer grants and scholarships. So there's different things that we're doing. Because of what we're going through right now with this quarantine, I realized how important it is, especially for people that are in this country that are not from this country, and they're here legally on a work visa, and they can't access. I mean, I'm listening and reading information and news about independent contractors that are working in this industry, and they're having a difficult time as it is. And they're trying to accommodate them. There's different unions, and even I think Sony started a grant to provide help with those that work in this industry. So there's a lot of platforms, but the ones that are being left out are the ones that have a visa, that are here and are working and pay their due. Like, they pay taxes in this country, and they're not getting any of those assistance because they're not US citizens, because they're not even green card holders. They're just here temporarily working here. So I want to now implement something where our nonprofit can assist them. And I'm trying to figure out how I can do that, because I didn't even think of that, you know, until recently, like how it's affecting different people in this industry. You know, it's really,
and there's in the industry, and also, oh, you mean people here on the visa that are in the industry is who you want to serve? Oh, that's great.
Yeah,
it's great.
Yeah, you know,
it's great,
because it's like it's just interesting. Like, light is being shed by this, by
it really
staying
is
at home. You know.
Yeah,
our
humanity. Our humanity, we're being forced inside, and literally and figuratively, right? And we are, the whole, globally, we're all experiencing the same thing. I love what you're saying. And, you know, I heard Dr. Sanjay Gupta talk about evolution, and he was saying how, you know, species don't survive unless they stay connected. And he thought it was a really interesting time that this virus was coming, because it's clearly just the most tragic thing, and we're all losing people. And you know, but the other thing that is happening is what you're saying, which is that we are being forced to connect. We're being forced to see each other in a new kind of way. And I really feel personally that, you know, when we moved from the Obama administration into the current, it got lost. You know, so the value system is so different, especially in terms of what you're talking about, you know, gender and diversity and the arts and things that education, healthcare, things that we all need to feel human.
Oh, okay.
I forgot.
I was like, wait, what happened?
Yeah. So, you know, it's really interesting, you know, to think of it in terms of evolution, that, you know, that maybe we wouldn't have survived as a species if we hadn't started looking at each other in this new, you know, more connective way. And artists, of course, we do that. That's our thing, right?
Well, I mean, it's interesting. I've seen it a couple times, especially on social media, how people are saying, like, a lot of people are appreciating the arts right now because the arts are distracting you. You have movies, you have books. There's many different, and there's people that are becoming artists that are deciding, like, I'm going to start filming a diary. I'm going to start, you know, arts and crafts. I'm going to start painting, photography, whatever it is that they're getting into that they never would have before if it wasn't for this, just to distract their minds from what's happening. I joke about this, but my parents started freaking out. I'm their caretaker, and they were freaking out because they had a lot of time in the Spanish-speaking majority, and watching Spanish news, it's going to elevate you know, have you ever seen Spanish news? It's, if you think regular news is bad, Spanish news is like takes it 100 times worse. Like, and the way they say it too, like, you know, with that very authoritative voice, you know, like coronavirus, you know, it's kind of like, whoa, you know, so it makes it even more scary. So I told my parents as they're freaking out, I said, let's set you up on Netflix. And I did that. And I want to say for like 2 days after that, they were the calmest. Like, they're better now and they're understanding, but I'm saying, like, I didn't hear as much from them because they didn't realize that they were binge watching shows. They're like, this is the longest film. And I was like, it's a TV show. You know, it's going right on to the next one. You know, they're like, this is amazing. So it's things like that I think we're grateful. One of the many things that we're grateful of now is the arts, because it's helping us distract us. And especially with people that have anxiety and depression, I think it's a huge helper, assistance for them right now to cope with what's happening, especially if you're feeling that you're staying in closed quarters. I always say that I feel for anyone that lives in a studio apartment and is abiding by the stay-at-home suggestion, because it's still a suggestion. It's not fully enforced. You could still go and go shopping for essential things, but you know, you could still go out there. But I really do feel for anyone that is feeling like they're encaged, you know, and the arts is really, I feel, helping them out.
Absolutely. And I, you know, think about these times without film, TV, literature, podcasts. I mean, no one can imagine it. And yet somehow in this country, sometimes we forget how important art is, which is different than, for example, in Europe. I mean, I'm generalizing, but they don't forget there. You know, in Spain, they don't forget about art. I mean, I'm sure people have their own complaints everywhere, but we really, we're really reminded of what you're saying right now.
Right, because like you're saying, like in the current administration, Hollywood's to blame for a lot of things. Like, oh, you know, it's Hollywood liberals, whatever, you know, they're all fake, they're this and that. And it's kind of like anyone is allowed to form their own opinion and express it, whether we believe it or not. And that's how we learn from other people. I like to talk to people that I don't really agree with, just so I can understand them better, because then I understand why they feel the way they feel. Because sometimes we should ask, okay, why do you support this person, or why do you support this bill, or whatever it is? Because sometimes it's something very personal, and it's kind of like, okay, I understand, like, I don't agree, but I know why you feel the way you feel. And that's all it takes, is just an understanding. And I think that's what's missing on both sides. It's just lack of understanding. And that's where you were on point saying that we lost empathy. That's a huge thing to lose. And you hit it right on the nose, because we lost a lot of it. Very few people still have it. And social media is a help, but at the same time, it destroys a lot of things. I've seen so much hate and arguments because people are not willing to have that empathy. You know, empathy is just simply an understanding. It doesn't mean you relate to it directly. And when you have that, then there's compassion. And that's where the humanity and love comes in. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing weak about that. And I can't stand that people use it as a political tool of either you're left or you're right. There's no such thing. We're all the same, regardless if you remove the left or right, the blue or the red, whatever colors you want to add there. We just have to get along. That's all it comes down to.
Well, I agree with you. I think right now people are really forced to relate to each other in a new way, to consider people's conditions. Like you said, is there, you know, a single mother of 3 in a tiny apartment in New York right now that can't pay her bills, you know, or what is a homeless person doing? You know, we really considering people's circumstances in a way that maybe we put blinders on about. And for me, just as artistically, empathy is the muscle that I think is most necessary to work, because I like character-driven stories. I mean, I don't understand when I watch a story, I want to be able to relate to the characters in some way. I want to be elevated. I want to connect. And you can't do that unless you're creating with empathy. It's just both as the actor, as the director, as the writer, you just simply cannot do it. So it's a necessary ingredient to everything. It's also just a shitty way to go through the world, through the world without love, without love in your heart. I mean, to be so ego driven, to be so greedy, is a very miserable state, and we have to find love for each other. We have to.
Absolutely. And I think this is a huge wake-up call. It's a huge wake-up call. Let me ask, how were you in the middle of doing something, meaning production-wise, in the arts-wise, or just regular whatever 9-to-5 job you may have had when this happened? Did you self-quarantine, or did you wait for them to issue the suggestion of staying at home? How did it affect that from your perspective?
I don't have a 9-to-5 job. I'm a professional artist. I'm directing for money, so that's scary. To think of productions slowing down, and then I coach actors that are in production, so that was scary as well. And with what I do at Strasberg, we didn't know if a lot of schools were closing down. We didn't know if we would be able to continue, teaching the students online. And, I'm knocking on my table, I'm knocking on my head. I knock on anything. Right now, happily, the production I have in development is moving forward because of where we were in the development process. I'm able to finish the film I'm on. One of my clients just wants to coach to keep fresh. I mean, some of that's going to slow down for sure. But yeah, so far I'm still working, but I definitely am taking the quarantine seriously. I mean, I went shopping today with a mask on and took a long walk with a mask on and shopped with the glove. I mean, I think we have to. That all we know that other countries did that are ahead of us in this is that they quarantined. So I would never not do that.
Yeah, it's interesting. Last week, it was last week. I'm getting the days all jumbled into one.
I know.
It's just like, what day is it? Last week was it last week or 2 weeks ago? See, now I don't even remember. But I got sick, and I got scared because I went shopping to get some essential needs. Got home later that evening. I went to lay down, and I felt like I was short of breath, and I started panicking. Because we're all like WebMDing everything at this point, like, oh my God, do I have it? So and I feel for anyone that is a hypochondriac, honestly, because I can't even imagine where their mental state is right now. So I went looking up what the symptoms were, and I was like, okay, I don't have a fever. And I text my family members and I said, hey, I'm going to stay in my room. Someone needs to check up on my parents at this moment, just to be precautious. I'm not going to check up on them for like the next day. It's just like, I'm just not going to get out. I'm going to stay in here just in case and see where this goes. And everyone texted back like, okay, we'll check on mom, dad. Like, don't worry about it. We got this. We'll call them, whatever. The next night, I was coughing a lot. I was starting to panic, but I was like drinking teas. Like I was trying to figure out what to do, but staying away from everyone. Like I would get a knock on my door and I'd open it and there was something on the floor for me to eat, or like a tea, or, like whatever it is to help, because no one wanted to come near me because they understood what was happening and what I was attempting to do. Thankfully, I was better like the day after that. I just took the weekend after that just to be okay. But it's interesting how our thought process changes, especially what's going on. I just said, especially because my mom is a high risk, I said, I'm going to stay away. I don't want anything to happen right now. We don't, like, as much as I want to hug you, like I'm living with her right now. As much as I want to hug her, I'm not hugging her. That's what she told me the other day. She's like, I miss hugs, and I miss, like, I went to the store. She's like, I missed you while you were gone to the store. I was like, I'm just here right now. And she's like, yeah, but it's interesting how now I'm aware of how much I'm missing things. You know, she talks to her sister on FaceTime. So technology is a huge, huge, essential, you know, for our mental state as well, because we're able to communicate like this. You know, I know we can't touch, but at least we're able to communicate. So it's really interesting, the perspective that we're all getting from this and what we're learning, hopefully, from it, and what it's doing to our planet. It's amazing seeing how clear the skies are, how clear the waters are. I mean, maybe honestly, I think the planet just needed us to just stay away for a minute, let the planet regroup, and then once hopefully we don't overdo it and bombard it with all the pollution and everything, because it's insane how much healing we all needed, all of us, the planet, all of us in general, from this. I think that's the takeaway. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I've been speaking to that, you know, in this conversation. I do think that there's an opportunity for healing. I do think that the social media, the way people are using it is a lot more from the soul, from the heart, you know, in a real true spirit of not just look at me, but instead, how can I give you something that's going to touch your life? And like I said, you know, what you're talking about too with the planet and the environment. I mean, evolution, you know, I go back to this theory, you know, how is the species going to survive if we didn't do that, you know? So yeah, there's opportunity to grow and heal. There is going to be a shift. And, you know, saying that with absolute consciousness and awareness that so many people are suffering and are going to continue to suffer, not taking away from that, but also saying, what is the shift here? You know, how can we heal? And I think staying out of fear is very important for people's health. You know, I've talked to some doctors about that as well. I mean, there is a mind, body, spirit connection, you know, no matter. I'm definitely a person of science, you know, definitely doctors are people of science, you know, 99.9% of the time. But, you know, you can't deny that there's, you know, that the way we feel psychologically affects our health as well. So as much of the shift that we can do into something expansive rather than fear, you know, whether that's meditation, yoga, staying artistically and creatively alive. I think these are very, very practical ways to help that healing shift.
Absolutely. And this is the talk that we all needed. We all needed to talk to you. This was it. I mean, honestly, we're at that peak. I've talked to 3 different doctors because of my parents, and they all said these next 2 weeks, it's going to be the hardest. Try your best to not leave the house. Try your best, especially, you know, and they told me, like, this is going to sound extreme, but if you leave the house and you come back in, remove all article of clothing, jump in the shower, and move the clothing away as far away from the family as possible if you can't wash it at that moment. And so I was just like, wow. And they're like, I know it sounds extreme. Don't leave without gloves or mask, but definitely wash your clothes and shower. If you can't shower for whatever reason, and wash as much as you can, because it's that critical at this point. You know, so hearing that, and hearing everything that you're saying is honestly what we needed today. Like
thank you.
This talk.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
No, absolutely. So, tell me, so you're still working, which is great. Not everyone has that. There's some people I've talked to that is doing post work, but it's starting to slow down. And we've talked about, not you and I, but I'm saying like in general in this industry, we've all discussed how it might become extremely bombarded once this all lifts and it's safe to go back out and work again. Do you feel that's going to be the same? Because I know different productions halted at different stages in productions. Like I've had a project we were filming and finishing at the end of March, and we had to postpone it. And I had a couple projects that were in pre-production to start this month and in June, and one in May. So it's kind of like almost back to back. So it's kind of like now they're all kind of on hold, waiting to see.
Yeah.
You know, so how do you feel about that?
Wrong.
Do you think we're going to be bombarded?
You know, I don't feel I have the knowledge base on the industry enough to really speculate. You know, I have no idea. I hope so. I mean, I do think that, you know, storytelling is paramount, you know, in every way. And I want people to be able to keep creating. And I've seen, you know, in my women filmmakers groups, I know people are doing, you know, coronavirus web series and finding creative ways to keep creating. I just think however we can keep creating, I don't know. I hope it's bombarded. I mean, great, please.
Yeah, I hope so too. I'm still working. We're in production on one of our projects, and so I've had, ironically, more meetings in quarantine since before. Like, it was getting to that point anyhow, but I think now, because a lot of the investors and producers that I was talking to have a lot of time, that they're really easily accessible right now, and it's kind of like, sure, let's talk, I'm bored today, and I'm like, really great. You know, so in that aspect, I think it's working out. I think others have said the same thing. I was talking to someone that said, do you think they'll look at my script? And I said, yeah. And I sent it to them. I said, they'll have an answer to you by this date. And she's like, it's normally, that's quick. And I was like, yeah, it's normally not. So that's why we're at a different place in life right now. So yeah, that's a quick response because where we're at. Let me ask, what do you recommend? Do you have anything that you can recommend, whether it's a book, film, shows, whatever it is, to watch or read?
Yeah.
Even if it's your own, but we're going to do a plug afterwards, but even if it's your own.
Okay. Well, I won't recommend my own, but I will tell you, you know, they are on Amazon if anyone wants to watch them. But I, you know, I just watched Unorthodox.
Okay.
Yeah, on Netflix, and it's a really interesting story. It's very female driven. It's female director, female writer, based on a woman's story who she escaped. She wrote a memoir that she escaped the Hasidic community because it was, you know, the way that they treated women. And they did a great miniseries on Netflix. So I think everyone will love that. Seriously, it's really, really good. Unorthodox is really, really good. What else have I been watching? God, it feels like it's kind of a blur. I binged Ozark. I hadn't watched Ozark, so I binged the third season, and now I have to go back and watch the first and second season because I thought it was excellent.
Okay.
And the books, I just read Eve Ensler's An Apology, which is revolutionary. Basically, she writes a story from her abusive father's voice. It's so inspired, so brilliant what she did. And speaking of empathy, I mean, she had to get into the psyche of someone who abused her and find their voice.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And then I read To Catch and Kill, the Ronan Farrow's book about Catch and Kill, about the Harvey Weinstein years and what it took for him to be able to write that story, and hearing a lot of women's experience in that book as well. Those are you had asked me ahead of time, so I was thinking. So that was my four big one time. The way I spent time last week when I wasn't working. I mean,
that's good though.
There is a way that the introvert can really get into that, you know, because
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm still, you know, working and I have responsibilities, but the time we spend driving from
Mm-hmm.
place to place now is freed up.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, oh, okay. What am I going to do at that time?
This is true. This is true.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about the driving time. That's because I'm in Orange County and it takes me anywhere from an hour and a half to 2 hours to get somewhere. And that's being generous. And a lot of people don't understand that. So when I make meetings, I always ask, could we make it between these times? Because if I leave by 2, I'm going to be sitting in traffic for a couple of hours. If I leave in the morning, that means I got to leave extra early in the morning and hang out before I meet you if we're meeting at 9 or 8 or, which is fine. But I just I like to, for me, schedule between the funny, soft, the interesting part is between 10 and 2. And 2 is pushing it for me. So you're right. There's a lot of times that driving, and in LA, even if you're within LA, you're sitting in traffic sometimes 20 minutes when it would take you 2 minutes to get somewhere, which is crazy. So yeah, I didn't even think about the driving time.
Yeah, that's why our environment is improving, because people are staying home. And so I mean, there's so many great shows and films to discover. If you're home right now, that's definitely a good thing to be doing.
I haven't seen either or, so I'll check them out. And I didn't read either book. I've been wanting to read the Ronan Farrow one for a while. I just, I'll check it out for sure. Let me ask, this is the time where I want
you know what else? I wanted to, can I do one more shout out? I'm sorry.
Sure.
Little Fires Everywhere. Little Fires Everywhere is also based on a book. It's, I think what Reese Witherspoon is doing right now is incredible.
Okay. Yeah.
She's taking these books. She's doing these really interesting female characters are in these books that she's making into films. I loved The Morning Show, and I'm really liking Little Fires Everywhere too. So
all right, I'll check that out.
Little shout out. Yeah.
That's good. So now shout out to yourself, because that's what it's about. So anything that you want to promote, whether it's self-promote, businesses like the school that you talked about, films that you have out there that's accessible to us to watch, please do that. So anything that you want to shout out, and then afterwards, if you can send me links to them, because I do add them in on our YouTube. So I add images and where to click and all that stuff. So
thank you. How nice.
What would you like to promote? And please do, because this is what this is all about. We want to hear about you.
Well, I think that's so cool. I would love people to watch. I have 2 award-winning short films that are on Amazon. One's called Faith, and I think people would really like that right now.
Listen, when I first got here, they told me that I would get out of recovery what I put into it. Look at me now.
Why are they playing with puppets?
It encourages subtextual expression.
Shut up, Jane!
Don't tell me to shut up! You cannot put the group stone inside your puppet!
I would prefer to think of it as an existential crisis.
Okay, everyone, this is Faith. As always, I expect you to show faith, the courtesy, and respect that we'd all like to be shown. Right?
He's gonna try to give you meds in here to get you his kind of high. But ask yourself, why is that okay?
You're too feeble. You're too proud. God doesn't want us to be this way.
Are you gonna tell me what's wrong?
Go.
Doctor?
There's no such thing as a chemical imbalance!
Yeah, this is why I only date celebrities. You know? Like the only people who have enough juice to handle it, you know what I'm saying?
Apples don't have to change to be like oranges, but we're all supposed to be chemically the same?
What is one thing greater than yourself that gets you up in the morning?
I don't know.
And one's called Rose's Turn, which, you know, if you, and I can send you the trailers.
That woman has seen a lot of suffering.
I invited her.
You can tell by the way her head sits down in her heart. She can't forget nothing. You ever seen a man walk through fire?
I can send you the trailer for I Heard Sarah, which is coming up. It'll be released probably in a couple months.
Awesome.
No, it's you.
Don't you want to be a legend?
That's what I fucking said, man! We're fucking here! Guys, we fucking made it.
So much.
Little boys, welcome to the City of Angels.
Don't you want to be a legend?
2 weeks left on his mandate. He broke out of rehab, Ian Ford. I feel like this guy has a death wish.
What happened to them? How did everything get so fucked?
You wouldn't have any of this if it wasn't for me.
I'm so fucking sorry.
Why are you here?
Promise me that we're gonna be fine.
I promise.
Before the band blew up, this girl.
What girl?
Sarah. Her name was Sarah.
Yeah, and my company is Firsthand Films. That's the Instagram, and I saw you gave us a shout out. So Firsthand Films, firsthand.films. That's our Instagram. And then please, actors, send me questions. I mean, it's free. I want to talk to you. You know, we can dialogue, and that's Stay Tuned LA. So that's what I have to offer right now.
Awesome. Amazing. And then I'm going to check it out. I'm going to insert the trailers as well. Thank you for sharing that with me. We'll be joining me and helping me maintain some sort of normacy. And right now, anything you want to say before we go as we're wrapping it up?
Well, I just want to thank you for empowering female filmmakers in this way and getting us dialoguing and sharing. And it's just a great use of everyone's time. So thank you for creating community in that way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you have a lovely rest of your day, and have I don't know how to say blessed Passover. I'm Catholic, so many blessings to you, and I hope that you and your family are staying safe.
Thank you. You too. You too.
All right.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.